are approved. We will start with the probation agenda.
You got it.
Are we good?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 3 action agendas on the item, and I'll go through in order, and then I have a few things for discussion. The first one is a request to apply for 13A classification funding from the State Division of Criminal Justice in the amount of $13,140 for the term July 1st through June 30th of 22. This is money that helps support our pretrial release program. We get it every year. We got it late last year, but we got it. This is simply, we submit an application and we receive the funding. We've had this funding for probably 20 years, and it's consistent at the small amount of $13,140.
Motion bringing to the floor. Supervisor Diamond, second by Supervisor Shepler. Any discussions on it? Bob, this offsets costs in your office how?
It does. What it does is it goes towards revenue towards the pretrial release program. In essence, that program basically has 1 staff member plus benefits. So off the top of my head, that budget's probably in the neighborhood of $75,000. So this $13,140 goes towards that.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
Second one is a request to enter into a contract with Buddy, which is the name of the company for electronic monitoring services for our juvenile and adolescent population. Through the years, we've contracted with a company by the name of KMG for electronic monitoring. We would pay them about $25,000 a year. Those were fixed costs, so we had a guaranteed amount we paid every month to them. During the pandemic, that was one of the contracts that we eliminated. But what we're finding is, especially with our juvenile and adolescent offender population, there's no detention beds. There's no specialized secure detention beds for adolescent offenders, and there's no detention beds, secure detention beds for juvenile delinquents. So electronic monitoring is not utilized a lot in our family court system, but I believe one of these days we're going to be in a situation where we're going to need it. So with all that said, the company we're contracting with, they are a pay-as-you-use-it service. The amount per day per unit would be $4. We pay no shelf cost. So it would be something that we would use or we would pay for only as we use it. So we may not use any of it. We may use some, but we put in an amount not to exceed $3,000 for the rest of the year. Recently, we received some additional STSJP money. That's funding that we get from the Office of Children and Family Services to support different juvenile work. We got an additional, I think it's a little over $8,000 because of counties that did not utilize that funding. So we can use some of that money to offset the $3,000. And again, it may be something we don't use for the rest of the year. Depends on the youth that come into our system, what their crimes are, and what their level of care would be.
Motion to bring it to the floor.
So moved.
Thank you, Supervisor Shepler, seconded by Supervisor Diamond. Discussion. About how many juveniles on an year would require?
Well, we would believe a little bit more than is currently utilized, but probably should be in the neighborhood of about 5 or 6. We haven't had any last year. Well, obviously because of the pandemic slowed things down. We've had a few this year where it was not ordered. We had an adolescent offender back when Judge Hall was here, who if we had that, he probably would have used it. So I think it'd come in handy for at least 2-3 cases a year.
And those be coming through.
They'd be coming through family court and the youth part of county court or Supreme Court where they handle the adolescent offenders.
How sophisticated are these monitoring services?
They would be what you call passive units, where they basically would track an individual's whereabouts. They're not GPS, so you couldn't put where they are in the community and things like that. What we use them for is basically to maintain them in the home. So we would know if they left. We would give people windows should they need to go out. So in essence, it backs up home confinement.
May I?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shepherd?
Thank you, Bob. Quick question. Is there anything built into this contract for damages?
There is, and there would be an agreement that the individual who used it would sign. The county would not be liable for the damages. It would be the person who used it.
The individual.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Two is passed.
And the last request is to amend the county budget to accept funding from Cornell University in the amount of $35,000 regarding our Y Reconnects grant. This is a grant that we applied for and we were accepted in December. The funding contract period for that grant goes from April 1st of 2021 to March 31st of 2022. We have not received any money yet, but we anticipate that will be coming. So in anticipation of that, we're looking to amend the budget to accept that. And next month, I will be up talking about how we
Hi,
want
Heather, it's Claudia Bramer.
You can go on. She's muted.
and there is no county match to that either.
Okay. And when it says it's to meet the goal of the program, will be to,
The goal of the program is to better serve justice-involved youth who have disabilities that come into our system. So the youth we deal with come with a lot of issues. Children with disabilities obviously have more. Family situations and support systems sometimes are non-existent. And what we want to do is to build programs and contract with individuals where we could better serve these individuals and help assist them. Some of the things we do are parenting programs, mediation, restorative practices, and as a whole, looking at our system as we go to say, how do we deal with these youth better? Having their voices heard and preparing them for when they come in the system and when they go out of the system.
and you have staff that do that.
We currently do, yes.
Thank you. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Driscoll?
Also a question too.
Oh, and the
Thank-
question, the second by Supervisor Diamond. Go ahead, Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Bob. I just wanted to find out if this includes physical disabilities, or are we also including mental health, alcoholism, substance abuse in with that?
It's a broad range. So it's in essence, I think initially talks about emotional disabilities, but physical disabilities are certainly there. So they've given us a broad range of any of those individuals who enter our system, and it's been pretty flexible.
Great, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 3. Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
So I have a few discussions or items under the discussion list. And the first one is body armor. Currently, our staff utilize body armor for safety when they go in the field. During when we prepared the budget for this year, we put in replacement cost to replace the body armor because after 5 years, they start to deteriorate, and it's recommended that they're replaced after 5 years. Due to the uncertainty of this year's budget, it was taken out. And at that time, I had a conversation with the county administrator, and he said, that's one of these things we took out. Now it may be something we may be able to address as we get into next year. So I did have a conversation with Ryan before he left on leave, and I asked him if this was a good time to talk about it, and he said it was. So with that said, the replacement cost for the body armor would be $13,277.60. They're past their 5-year limit. So it would be my recommendation that we look to replace them.
Is that something that could come before us next month's meeting.
Absolutely.
Any discussion on this item from the supervisors? Supervisor Shepherd?
How many units are we replacing for 13,000?
13.
13, thank you.
Are these used by the probation officers that show up at town halls, town court days?
They are used by those probation officers, but when they go into the field to do home visits, not when they would do office reports at the town hall.
So move, it sounds like move forward with that idea. Then. Number 2, under discussion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question for Bob. Bob, are you looking for monies from the fund balance, or are you looking to fund this internally through your codes within your budget?
We would be looking for money from the fund balance. We don't have any money in our current budget to support that.
What about in other code lines within your budget?
We can look to see.
Monies that you've saved some monies in certain areas of the code. Could we possibly transfer some of that, to this particular line item?
Sure, we can certainly take a look to see what we could come up with. There may be a few thousand here and there that we haven't used, or that maybe we can earmark for that. So we'll definitely could take a look and come back next month and say we have found X amount of dollars to support that.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor McDowell.
Thank you, Chairman. Bob, are they kind of like a boat life jacket? I mean, my curiosity is, I imagine they do just break down due to the tension and pulling and, heat and cold, sweat. And nothing more to the safety of our officers that go out there. I thank you for that. Do you think there's any grant money out there for this?
There is grant money. It's called the Bulletproof Vest Partnership. That typically comes out in April or May of a given year. We've used that the last time. With that, you have to purchase them first before you apply for the grant. But certainly, we would look into supplementing with the Bulletproof Vest grant if we were able to. When we're able to purchase, we would certainly look to do that.
And thank you. Another follow-up there. I see Sheriff LaFar in. Is there, anything that kind of work together? He brings them in, you take care of them. But it's is there anything that worth talking to the sheriff to see if there's something you can jump in together, and just a curiosity?
Sure. I'm not sure where the sheriff's at with his body armor, but the last time we did apply with the Bulletproof Vest grant, we did it in conjunction with the sheriff's office. So I can certainly reach out to the sheriff. Talking about body armor. I'm not sure where they're at with it, but it's something that certainly I can have a conversation with the sheriff.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a problem protecting any of our officers on that aspect. So thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
And the last one is for the safety of our office. If any of you have ever been to our office and see how we bring individuals up, it's kind of a convoluted way to do business. Since we only have one metal detector in the entrance of the north end of the building, they come through the public defender probation entrance. They sit in the waiting room. We go down and get them through a couple hallways and bring them back. And through the travels, there's a couple doors you go through. And the door that goes into our back entrance has never had really a good lock on it. It's been changed a couple times, probably 3-4 times in the last 5-6 years. The keys kind of stick. We have a couple keys, so you got to fumble through the keys. This is while you're bringing people through. We tried to get a fob for years. That would make it a lot easier to get in and out. So I put a request into DPW. We have not heard from them. So anything the committee could do to help would be greatly appreciated.
Thanks. I'm going to look over here. Brad, that's your committee.
I'll get right on that.
I appreciate it.
Good. Thank you. You were talking about juvenile detention several years ago. That was a huge issue. Perhaps next month you could just wrap us up with a little discussion on where the state of affairs.
I'd be happy to. The state doesn't believe we have a problem. We don't need any beds. Most of us differ in that opinion. So when we go to look for an individual for a specialized secured bed, it's at least a day adventure to find. And if we find something in Erie County, we're lucky. If we find something in Westchester, we're real lucky. But I think the state believes we're okay.
And Albany County was looking at something, so maybe next month.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Privilege of the floor and public comment. Do we have anything? Don, there.
Nothing on YouTube, Chairman Leggett.
Okay, thank you, Don. Seeing none from the galley. We will adjourn this part of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Public Defender. Public Defender Flores, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. The first issue I'd like to bring up is a request for a new contract for various transcriptionists. What we use that for is if we have like a hearing in court and we need that transcript from that witness at a trial, that's usually when we use it. We don't use it all the time. In the past, our budget was $2,500. We reduced it last year to $1,700. We don't do it all the time, but we need a contract in order to do this.
Okay, motion to bring it to the floor.
So moved.
Supervisor Shepler, second by Supervisor Driscoll. Any discussion? And this is a renewal from 2018?
This is a new contracts, and it says for various transcriptions because we don't know who's going to be doing the transcript, depending on what court it's in, what services are available. So that's why it's listed this way. And this is using county funds. However, if we have a really busy year and we need additional funding, we have ILS funding as afterwards to use. But again, with ILS, you have to supplement, not supplant. So I have to use the county funds first. So that's been reduced, the amount that we need. And we have not been using the full amount at all. And God willing, we won't have to.
And this will go through purchasing?
Yes.
Okay. Supervisor Shepler?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
An outside contractual service.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carries on one.
Thank you.
Number two.
Number two, I'd like to talk about number 2, 3, 4, and 5 together because logistically it makes sense that way. Number 2 is to request to create a new position of a coordinating assistant public defender part-time. Number 3 is the notice to fill that position. Number 4 is request to create a new position called assistant public defender part-time. And number 5 is the notice of intent to fill. So I'd like to talk about those together. These are all fully funded through Office of Indigent Legal Services. There is no county funding applied. There is no matching fund. So it's all covered through grants. This is under Harrell Herring grant. Harrell Herring is a 5-year grant period. And over the course of Harrell Herring, we get additional monies each year. The reason that I'm creating 2 part-time positions is because I need people who are more experienced. And by these part-time positions, as you'll see that they on the grade system, that they are equivalent to more experienced attorneys. The coordinating one would be a grade 4. There's a typo that I made. I apologize. In the ADA part-time, it should be a grade 3, not a grade 4. So we're staying within the grade system, but that was my typo and I apologize. And the goal is to create these positions with experienced attorneys, people who I can send to court, hit the ground running, that I don't have to train. The funding that we had for Harrell Herring each year, I have to add more staff to my office. By the end of the 5 year, I need approximately 15 new people in my office. So we've been doing this over time. But this year, I would like to add the 2 part-time positions. It was in the year 3 Harrell Herring contract funding, and that was already approved by ILS. I believe the chairman has already signed that contract. We've sent it back. We're waiting for the final approval by Department of Budget. So therefore, I didn't want to bring this to the table until I actually had the funding in front of us. So it's all part of the Harrell Herring. And that's why I need those. In terms of one is more hours. One is 21 hours a week, and that's the part-time one, and the coordinating one is 14 hours a week, which is So that one is 14 hours a week. So it gives me, and my goal is to have part-time attorneys who can do some of the outlying courts, the further courts, because the time travel to get up and back for one of my attorneys, it's a lot of time if you're going up to Hague or Horicon, and that's downtime for those other attorneys. So I'd like to keep my full-time attorneys doing what they need to do in the bigger courts. The other thing that becomes important with this is part of caseload reduction, which is part of Harrell Herring's goal, is to reduce the caseload to a certain level. And this will allow us to reduce that so that we stay compliant with ILS, so we keep continuing to get the funds. These positions, if the funds go away, are gone. Again, these positions and whoever's going to get hired will understand from day one that it is part-time and that it's fully funded by the grant. And if the grant funding goes away, the jobs go away. But I have found that there are senior attorneys in the community who are interested in working but don't want to work full-time. And so it fits in with this concept.
Thank you. Motion to bring number 2 to the floor, to create a new position of coordinating assistant public defender.
I make that motion.
Moved by Supervisor Stroud. Is there a second? Supervisor Driscoll. Second. Discussion. No.
I know I jumped ahead and was giving all the discussions at the beginning because it was easier to understand it all in the whole concept.
Sure. We now have a coordinating attorney.
Yes,
So this person would assist that coordinating?
it's a separate coordinating attorney position, but this one is only part-time to deal with other specific issues on let's say that my coordinating attorney, that we have posted for, I haven't found anybody to fill it yet. But that person will be helping attorneys and have their own caseload. So if that attorney is on trial or is in court, then this other coordinating part-time attorney can help the attorneys who need assistance right away. The goal is to have as much mentorship within the office to allow the attorneys to grow and to handle issues immediately.
When you say you have to have your office up to 15 individuals for the ILS within 5 years, you have 9 assistant PDs, case manager, confidential secretary, coordinating PD, data officer. Are those all included in that 15? Or
Yes, some of those are. We have the data officer, we have the clerical position, we have the case manager, we have several attorneys, we'll have the coordinating attorney, well, these two. So there's also, there's a plan, and I can only work within how Harrell Herring gives us a certain amount of money each year. So each year as it increases, I have to add staff. Next year, my intention would be to add a full-time attorney once year 4 funding and year 5 funding come around to make us where we need to be.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding the coordinating assistant public defender? Yes, Ben.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a comment. As both public and private sector entities struggle with recruiting good people, people experienced, I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to get a couple of seasoned attorneys in working for us without going through the training and all that type of process. And I think more and more organizations, both public and private sector, are going to have to look at that as an option in order to staff their organizations. So,
I
thanks.
agree. Thank you very much.
No other discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favor of number 2?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Request 2 passes. Request 3, intent to fill. So that goes along with it. Motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Shepler, second by Supervisor Diamond. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Request number 3 is approved. Request number 4, create a new position of assistant public defender. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Shepler, Supervisor Driscoll. And discussion. So, Marcy, would this be then the 10th assistant public defender?
Is that what we would be
It should be
adding?
11 because the full-time coordinating should be number 10. So this would be number 11.
Okay, I'm just going off salary.
That's
schedule
okay.
as opposed
And the-
here.
And within my office, the numbers don't mean, are not significant that way. It just means when they came in time,
Okay.
when the positions were created, but not their significant level. The reason I say that because the coordinating position, the coordinating full-time is number 10, but certainly is in terms of importance is much higher than the other numbers that come at the end.
Okay. Is that how you refer to each other in the office? Hey, number 3.
No, we don't at all, at all, never.
All right. We have a motion on the floor to create a new position of assistant public defender. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion for request number 4 passes. Request number 5, notice to intent to fill. Bring it to the floor, Supervisor Shepler, and a second by Supervisor Driscoll. Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion items.
Now, the first one is the leasing the property at 333 Glen Street. I know the county attorney is working on that lease. We're hoping that lease could go into effect in September because I need to put my coordinating attorney somewhere and the part-time attorneys can use that space also. I know there's a question of, we only had requested the lease for 1 year because obviously if space becomes available in the county, we certainly would rather move back to the county. So we'd rather do things just on a year-to-year basis. I can't guarantee there will be space in the county, but we always want to keep that option open. So I just wanted to let you know where we were on that.
You had all these trainings.
Yes, we had a lot of trainings. Now,
Right.
the medical training A is medical assisted treatment, which is called MAT for support and recovery. We had our case manager, Dylan Swartner, go there that deals with specific drugs, what they block and how to use them, how to deal with overdoses. Then the next training that he went to is a virtual motivational speaking training. And again, that was Dylan Swartner who went there, who was our case manager. And that deals with how to talk with clients and listen to them. They may say something that may trigger him to need to know to do something for that client. So it deals with how to focus client-centered communication. And then it also deals with questions on how asking questions to the clients so that they have some insight into what's going on and how to figure out some of the answers for them in their own solutions. There was a lot of role playing in that, and it was really helpful to him. And he was really very appreciative of the ability to go to those trainings. So I thank everyone for that. The next one was a criminal justice summer meeting, Court of Appeals search and seizure. Carlene Barnes went to that. And it deals with really search and seizure issues, which is always an issue that is important. And there's always updates every year. So that was important. She's a newer attorney, so the education for that was very helpful. And again, whenever the attorneys go to a continuing education program, we take the materials that come from that program, so all the attorneys in the office can use those materials. So we have it on our shared Z drive that we can use that. And then the next one was family court legislation. It was marijuana and state central registry. I did that with three other attorneys in my office. And so that was very helpful in terms of the new marijuana law and how that affects how you present cases in family court since the law has changed. So that was very helpful. And then the last one that we went to was Aaron Brothers and I, and again, these are all virtual, and that was on the standards for assigned counsel and family court. That was important because it was geared directly for our county and counties in our district, judicial district. So it was very helpful to be there to just make sure it was put on by ILS. So it was important that we are complying with all their requirements. So that was the CLE classes that everyone attended this past month. Does anybody have questions on those CLEs? I think I gave enough information on them.
Yeah, and it's good to hear. It's good to hear the updates that all the staff are getting to keep everybody apprised and up to date. Thank you. Any public comment from the galley here? Supervisors, anything from the public, Don?
I'll take that as a no.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. With nothing else on our agenda, we motion to adjourn. Supervisor Diamond, Supervisor Driscoll, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.